Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Jared Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Nikolai Roff. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, St Mary's Infants School, Dubbo. And from Victoria, Hillsmead Primary School, Narre Warren South, and Marist College, Bendigo. If able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal James Anderson Ligertwood. James Ligertwood was born on the 25th of July, 1887, the second son of William and Margaret Ligertwood of Adelaide. He grew up in the suburbs of St. Peters and attended the Norwood and Wellington Road public schools. His mother died when James was 10 years old, and 5 years later, his father remarried. James later attended the School of Mines and Industries and went on to open his own business as a building and contractor. James Ligertwood was an active member of St. Giles Presbyterian Church in Norwood, where it was reported for years, in a modest and unassuming way, he rendered faithful service to the various church organisations. He was a keen sportsman who excelled at football, cricket and tennis, and was also a skillful gymnast. Described as a strong, manly spirit with a remarkable, easy and genial disposition, James was a man who always recognised the duties as well as the privileges of friendship. Ligertwood's father died in March 1915. After sorting out his affairs, James enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force. He underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas in June 1915, with reinforcements to the 27th Battalion. He landed in Gallipoli in September 1915 and was there for a number of relatively uneventful months before the evacuation at the end of the year. The 27th Battalion was sent to France after a period of further training in Egypt, and in June and August participated in the fighting around the French village of Poitiers, notably capturing a fortified windmill at the edge of the village. Ligertwood proved an able soldier, and by this time had been promoted to corporal, even acting as temporary sergeant on occasion. In November 1916, the 27th Battalion was sent back on the Somme, and on the 3rd of November entered the front line in preparation to attack a German-held trench near the French village of Fleur. On that day, Corporal James Anderson Ligertwood was killed in action. Whilst little is known of the manner of his death, it probably occurred at the hands of a stray artillery shell or bullet. If he was buried, his grave was never recovered, and today he is commemorated on the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Brettoneux. James Ligertwood was 29 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of a family memorial in Australia featuring his name is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many of the stories, service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal James Anderson Ligertwood, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, students, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.